Hi, welcome to Santo's World. If you are a returning viewer, then thank you very much for the support. And if you're new here, welcome, and I hope you're here to stay. Today, I'm just gonna be going over 5 key elements that can improve the quality of your videos, especially if you're shooting by yourself, which to be fair will be most people, because who wants to ask people to help them shoot all the time? It's just long. So the alternative is to find ways in which we can make the whole process a lot easier and smoother. But yeah, let's get into the video. So number 1 is composition. Now, this is gonna help you in terms of making your videos look a lot more interesting, a lot more pleasing to the eye, and overall, a lot more cinematic. Now, if you want your videos to look like movies, then the best way to do that is to shoot the way movies are shot. But the thing is, you obviously don't have the budget to do that. However, you can still shoot with the same thought process the movies are shot with, because that doesn't cost a penny. So you want to be thinking about the rule of thirds. You want to turn on the grid on your camera so that you can see it split into 3 parts, and you want to place your subject on either corners of that grid, and that's going to help to add variation to your shots as well, because you're not always going to just place your subject in the center of the shot. After a bit, that just gets boring, and it also just generally creates a much more aesthetically pleasing image. Another concept that you want to think about is leading lines. So use the environment around you. I promise you that you can find leading lines anywhere. It could be a bus, it could be a tree, it could be literally anything, and leading lines will help to make your shot look a lot cleaner and a lot more put together. And with that being said, if you can, try and make sure that everything that is in that frame serves a purpose and is there for a reason. So get rid of any distractions, anything that doesn't serve the story that you're trying to tell. Try and use unique angles as well. Try and do a top-down shot, a shot from below. Just try and be creative with it. But if you are looking for somewhere to sort of find some inspiration for some of your shots, then a great place for that would be FrameSet. This is not a sponsored video or anything. I genuinely just use FrameSet all the time when I'm in need of some inspiration for the shots that I want to do. Number 2 is movement. Now, this is probably the hardest one, because yes, it's just you're alone, no one's there to help you. So how can you actually add movement to your video? Well, most of that movement is going to have to come from you, the subject. Movement doesn't necessarily mean that the camera is moving. Sometimes it's just a subject that is moving, and that can still make the shot look interesting and keep the viewers and the audience engaged, and sometimes even better than had you asked somebody to help you, because usually when we ask for help, it's your cousin or your brother or friend who isn't necessarily a videographer or a filmmaker. They probably have 0 camera experience, so they might not do the best job. But if you really want the camera to be moving, then you can also do snorri cam shots where you sort of tie the tripod around your waist and then you walk around with the camera facing you, which to be fair does create some interesting shots. If you have a magic arm, then you can also do POV shots where you're actually moving, and obviously the camera would be moving with you as well, and you could add movement to your shots in that way. And lastly, you can add movement in post-production as well. You can add whip pans. There's different effects that you can do, or even slow zooms if maybe you want to build some tension. As long as any movement is motivated and is helping to tell the story, then really and truly that's all that matters. Number 3 is gear. Obviously this one goes without saying, but you're going to need a tripod. Not necessarily a really expensive one. Any tripod would actually do. I think I got my tripod for like 30 to 40 pounds. But just make sure you don't cheap out too much, because if you're shooting outside and you don't have a really good tripod and it's windy, well, your camera's gone. A C-stand would also be helpful in getting those top-down shots. You can use some tripods to do it, but not all tripods would be able to do that. For example, mine can't. Maybe I do need a more expensive tripod. Anyways, another piece of gear that you're gonna need is, well, you don't necessarily need it, but is an external monitor. Now, this is gonna help you out so much. The LCD screen that you've got on your camera is obviously really tiny. So if you're doing a wide shot or a shot where you're standing pretty far away from the camera, it's gonna be very hard to tell whether you're in focus, whether you're in the frame, or even if it's sunny, you're probably not going to be able to see the LCD screen really well. And an external monitor solves all those problems. Just make sure you get one that has focus peaking. It can make your life a lot easier as well, because you'll be able to tell a lot easier if you're actually in focus. Because if you filmed yourself before, then you've definitely gone through shooting a scene and thinking, yeah, it's all done and completed, and then when you take it back to edit it, you realize that you're out of focus and then you can't use that shot anymore. So yeah, focus, peaking, very important. And lastly, a magic arm for those cool POV shots. If you don't necessarily want to be carrying around a big tripod and you want to be a bit more low key, you can just have your magic arm around, clamp it somewhere and get your shot that way. Number 4 is depth. Place your subject far enough away from the background to create some separation. What you don't want is for your subject to be blending in with the background. If for whatever reason you're not able to do that, then you can also place an object on the foreground of the shot and have your subject in the background, and that will create the separation or the depth that you want. And this is where playing with the focus comes in. So if you're trying to draw attention to the subject or maybe an object, if you place it on the foreground and either have it in focus and your subject out of focus, that will obviously draw the audience's attention to the object, and vice versa. If you want the audience to focus on the subject, then you'd obviously have the subject in focus instead. Number 5 is planning, which is probably one of the most important ones. If you're not planning, then you're definitely making your life and your shoots 10 times harder. You don't necessarily have to have a script word for word, but at least some sort of bullet points, something that will sort of help carry the story for you. Because sometimes you can have ideas and then you can forget them, which to be fair happens all the time. If you're not writing down your ideas, then chances are you are going to forget them. Now, it's all well and good to have a script, but I think it's also important to storyboard as well, because that will give you a visual idea of how all the shots are going to look, so that when you get to the location, you already know where you need to place your subject and where you need to place the camera as well. This is literally all about making your life so much easier and ensuring that you're able to cover all the shots that you wanted to do for that day. And also, planning helps you really think about the idea that you have. So as you're planning, you're building on your idea and in turn just making it better. But yeah, if you use these 5 tips, I guarantee you that your filmmaking is going to be so much better. Whether you're using it for cinematic vlogs, short films, then these tips will come in handy. But yeah, if you've watched the video up until this point, thank you very much for watching. And if you feel like this will be useful to you, then like and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one.